Hey, welcome to Talking 360. I'm Tony Scott, and with me is Cassie Booth. Cassie has written a book called Journey to Whole Peace, a woman's life journey of mistakes to ultimately discover God's love for her. How are you, Cassie?
I'm fantastic, Tony.
Good.
Hi there.
I saw you on television, a piece they did, and I was like, I need to talk to this woman. I want to help her get her story out, her book, and to talk about your Whole Peace Fitness platform. But you know, I've got so many questions for you because in your book you lay it all out on the line. I was kind of stunned that you were as honest as you were in the book. How cathartic was that for you to be able to just put it all on paper like that?
It was an amazing feeling to really just connect the dots and look back at things that I've gone through and how God's hand was on my life, and I didn't know it, I didn't know it, I didn't know it, and He's brought me this far to be able to tell my story. So in order to help someone, I have to tell all of the story, because it's not about me, it's about His story through me. And so when I take that away from it, saying this is not who I am, these are things that I've been through, so there are things that I don't have to carry anymore, so I can lay them out there. And to me, it's very freeing. It's very just a good release. And it just lets me know that it doesn't matter what I've been through. He's been with me all the way through, and it doesn't matter who knows or what they think. I please Him and not them.
You wrote in the beginning of your book, God showed me my special talents and used me to do your will, which I find very powerful. In fact, I kind of want to use that as a prayer, if you don't mind.
Oh, of course.
You know, but you also write, when God puts something on you to do, you do it, or you feel like you will die if you don't.
Right.
But how do you know that you're already doing what God wants you to do? How do you know what you're doing is what your path is or not? How do you figure that out?
Well, for me, it was definitely a knowing. And the more you open up your heart to God, the more He will show you. So a lot of times when people say, well, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing? Most times they're closed off to what it is He actually has for them. So their hearts aren't open wide enough to receive all that He has. They think they're doing it, but He's like, oh, no, I've got more for you if you are ready to receive it. So it's a constant asking, a constant pursuit after Him, not the thing. And He will just make it all so clear.
But Cassie, how do you open your heart like that? How do you do that? That's my question. I guess if I'm speaking from a personal standpoint. I would love to be able to open my heart and have God pour everything in, but I haven't figured out how to do that.
It's called getting me out of the way.
Now, what does that? What does that mean?
knowing that the Creator made your heart, so He's the one that fits perfectly in it. So not you. Emptying yourself of your hopes and your dreams and your ambitions, and knowing that He planted those seeds in you. So all things flow through Him. He is the source. And just knowing that, okay, I'm here for a reason. Show me what that reason is, God. Show me what it is. I know I'm good at this, that, and the other. Okay, now show me the way, your way. How can I honor you with these gifts and talents that you've given me? You know, and it's just emptying yourself out of the way.
Is it a process? Is it a one-night thing, or what is it?
Of course it's a process. It's little by little, and it's consistency and asking and looking and seeking. You know, in His word it says, seek and you shall find, ask, keep on asking, and you do, and He will reveal Himself more and more and more as you're able to receive it. That's, you know, He gives and we have to be able to receive. So it's a two-part thing. It's not just ask. We have to make sure that we're open enough to receive what it is that He has, and then act.
Let's talk about the book a little bit, Journey to Whole Peace, because you were at a keyboard and trying to put together a manuscript, because when you reached out to a publisher, they says we need a manuscript, and what the hell's a manuscript, right? But you sat in front of a keyboard and words just came out. Words hit the keyboard, hit the screen, and when you finished, you kind of closed your eyes and then you hit send.
Yes.
Have you ever felt anything like that before?
No, it was the strangest thing ever. I've always been a journaler. I write everything down regardless. I feel like getting it out has always been good for me. And so when this woman said, you need a manuscript, I thought, what is that? She said, this is good what you have, but put it together a little better. And we had a snowstorm actually on Palm Sunday, ridiculous, 2 years ago. And I sat there and just everything poured out into this story. And, I hit the send button and she replied right away. It was not an automatic response. She was actually at her computer. They were snowed in the area she was also. And that was that. It was nothing but the power of the Holy Spirit in me saying, write the book, write the story. Right. And you get that in your head, write the story. What's that? Okay, let me write. And you hear it, you just act, and he does the rest. Right. He does. It's so simple.
Wow. Now in the book, you write, I mean, growing up and stuff, like your teenage years, let's be honest, you were a brick house.
I guess you could say that.
but in your book, you write that you equated love with sex. Now, a lot of people do that.
Right.
Why?
I think, and this is really good to get into, everything in the world is outward appearance, how we look, how we feel. So a lot of young women and middle-aged women as well, we equate the how we look as to how we feel. And when we get responses to how we look in a sexual manner or what have you, we tend to equate that to, ooh, they like me. Mm-hmm. And then it ends up being a sexual thing. However, we're not really sure of what it is we have on the inside to offer, okay? So we're masking all the hurt and everything we may be carrying with an outward appearance. And that outward appearance gets the attention and the inwardness goes out the window. And we all know that sex only lasts so long. You can only have a sexual attraction with someone that is very temporal thing. And having a heart connection with someone that you can talk to and tell them anything is a big difference that I never have experienced in my lifetime.
You also write in the book that your biological father always denied you being his daughter. Is that baggage? Did that contribute to the equating love with sex, and was that something you've carried all your life, how your biological father felt about you?
Right. I think I carried that only because it was a sense of confusion. Let me back up a little bit about the applying love to sex. When you don't have an identity of who you are, you will attach yourself to whatever you think you should be or whoever thinks you should be. And growing up in high school, I was always with the athlete, the popular person, because I was attaching myself to them. I didn't really have my own identity, so I created mine in this person. So going back to the whole situation with my biological dad, that whole issue caused issues within our family makeup. And so there was a detachment in that. His father was very loving, very wonderful to me, but it caused a rift because my father did not accept me, but his dad did. So there was a rift in their relationship for that. So when I was experiencing real love, it was surrounded by all this controversy.
Okay. Now, your mom thought about aborting you.
Right.
How possibly could you handle that information? I mean, how old were you when you found this out? Because I'm puzzled about how you found this out and why would you find this out?
She told me, and it wasn't a bad thing. She just said, I loved you, I've done my best. And whenever she would relate to my father and how he left her and how she was 18 and that was her true love and she loved him, and her friends had talked to her about getting an abortion, she thought about it, and she's so glad she didn't because something good came out of that horrible relationship that she had with him. And even though over the years he still denied, she's very thankful that she listened to her one friend, Cassandra, and she actually named me after her friend Cassandra that told her, no, you are not going to do that.
Now, you also write, you say your father's family is strange. Now, is this your biological father, or was this the man who raised you?
The man who raised
me. Who was, by the way, an ordained minister.
Dad. ordained minister, yes, he is. And my mother married him when I was 2 years old. And he tells the story that he fell in love with me first because, I went right up to him with my binky in my mouth at 2 years old. And he picked me up on his hip, and I never left his hip. He'd walk around with me. And so naturally, he'd have to just marry my mother because he was so in love with me. That's the story he tells.
Okay. Now, he was an ordained minister, but you never went to his church.
We started there, and as we got older, they did not have children's activities, and so we would sit for hours and hours and hours. The child in church with nothing to do, bugging the mom. The mom's upset. It's hot, so mom took us to another church where they had children's activities. And during that time, it was mostly the white churches that had the children's activities with the nursery and the little Bible groups and stuff like that. So we left our church and went to a white church.
And well, I'm thinking because it's interesting. Did you lose your racial identity at all?
I never really had a racial identity, so to speak. So I grew up in the county, West County. Mom wanted to make sure that I had a good life, that I was raised white, in her mind, which was right. And I say that, but it's very true. She wanted the best for us. She didn't want us picked on and hit on. She didn't want what she had gone through for her children. So we hightailed it all the way out to West County, living above our means. Her main thing, she always wanted us to have the nice hair, the nice speech, act a certain way so you're accepted. So during that time, that's when desegregation started. And that really was hard for my mother because she felt like we're out here, we live here, and these Negroes from the city are coming, and that's what I'm trying to get away from. So it's really a struggle for her.
Yeah.
And me as a teen, not knowing, the desegregation kids didn't like me because they thought I acted white. I just acted the way that it was back and forth. And then the white kids liked me because I wasn't really black. I was, it was awful.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know where I stood.
That's interesting. I read about your senior year of high school, how you were humiliated by your parents. Talk about that.
Yeah, senior year of high school, I was the only black cheerleader, okay? So that was my skill. Mom had me in dance and piano and all these things. And so I was always a standout. The only black girl on the cheerleading squad that would do flips, and they'd take me up or whatever. So when it came time for our senior dance, we did our little dance to push it, we're dancing, all white people and me, in the front. And so they missed it. They're at the end of at halftime, the parents walk out with the seniors, and you're with your mother and your dad, and my parents were not there. And I was crushed. So the cheerleading sponsor, we had sponsors at that time that would take charge of the cheerleading squad. She had to walk out with me. Everybody else had their mom and dad, and mine were not there. They got into an argument over who was supposed to drive or whatever. They missed it, and it hurt. And to this day, it's still very painful.
Wow. Did you go off on them when you finally saw them, or?
No, I just kind of figured, and mom tried to blame dad, and dad tried to blame mom. And at that time, they had just divorced. And so dad was trying to be nice to come and get her. Well, he got the time mixed up. So they were an hour later than they were supposed to be.
Okay,
so.
Well.
No cell phones back then, so I couldn't call.
You say in the book that I know my parents fail me in showing me my identity in Christ.
Right.
Strong. Yeah, very strong. Do they know you feel that way?
I would say no.
No. That's because because they haven't read the book.
Right. But see, they've seen my growth in the last 3 years since I came to Christ, and they've heard my story via TV or whatever, and it's really funny. They'll say, well, I didn't know you went through that. And I'm like, well, where were you? A lot of major things that happened when I was adult, they kind of cut themselves away from. So now they see me emerging as this woman that's a business owner now, and I haven't been married or with it in a relationship for 3 years, which that was totally the opposite. I always had to have a man, and they were my identity. So they've seen this emerging woman. So they do see that change. But as far as, they got me to church, they did all the things that they were supposed to do, but they missed the mark as far as loving me for me. They were trying to put me in this box, be white, look white, say this, straight hair, you're doing dance class, you're doing, all these things that I took, dance, piano, I can't play the piano to save my soul, Spanish class, I did 6 years, hola, all these things, they weren't passions or desires in my heart. And that's the main thing. If we could look at our children and see each individual on this earth is made with a plan and a purpose. We're all giving individual talents. And if we can nurture those talents that are there instead of trying to put our children in a box that we want them to be in, that's kind of where I'm saying they've missed the mark. I grew up with an identity of I don't know who I am or what I'm supposed to be. But I can act real good. I can act the way you want me to be and speak, but it's a horrible way to grow up.
But how can your father, at being an ordained minister, miss the mark in showing you your identity in Christ?
Because I really don't feel he grasped all that God had for him. I think he knew the word and spoke the word, but as far as his walk was very shaky. And we have to know that when you are in this world, your walk with the Lord, that's why we need him. It's not because we have everything straight-laced and perfect. No, you need him. Everybody needs him, regardless of if you're a pastor or whatever. We all have struggles. And I think he was missing that. So that it's okay. Oh, wow, you smoke cigarettes, you tried to quit. It's okay. You're forgiven. Let's try again. He compartmentalized it. He was a certain way at church, and then we listened to Richard Pryor records at night, cussing and spitting and all this. But so that compartmentalization he had in himself. So it's hard to pass it along, the walk that you should have when you're compartmentalizing it.
Yeah. So after high school, you got a scholarship to a college in Tennessee, and your mother turned it down.
Yes, she did. My grandfather loved me so much. He was the light in my life. He had a prison ministry, took me to the prisons, and we prayed for young boys, and we did all the things. He was the hands-on Christian guy, where my mother's saying, get away from the hooligans. He was taking me to the hooligans, not hooligans, but, praying for them and showing them love, real love, not get away, but here's what I can do to help. And so he got a scholarship for me, and it was a full ride to the University of Tennessee. All we'd have to do is figure out the room and board situation. Mm-hmm. And for me at the time, it was awesome. It was just great because my parents were divorced. We were living in Baldwin. My mom still wanted to live in Baldwin, above our means, so we were in an apartment, and her and I were rooming together. Mm-hmm. So I was ready to just go and thought it would be a fabulous thing. But then she said no. No. Because at that time it was a majority black college, and she said there's no way I would make it there, that they would beat me up the first day. She instilled fear. And so that severed her relationship with my grandpa, and he took his hands off and said, okay.
He threw his hands up.
Right.
So do you think in hindsight, do you think she was right?
Well, now, yeah, but no, I think that would have been the best. And people that I talked to, that would have been the best thing you needed. You needed to get in the fire and know that all these fears that have been planted in you were all misconceptions. So yeah.
You write in the book that you were diagnosed as being bipolar and
yes.
Depression and things of that sort. How has that been?
How has that been?
Because a lot of people who you always hear about people who are bipolar, and that if they come off their meds, they just become different people.
No, here's my take on all of that. And I'm not on any medication, haven't been for over about 2 years now. My whole struggle, and I was in a verbally abusive relationship, and I was always a personal trainer. So I'd go out, be up for people. I got you, I got you, I got you. But behind the scenes hurting, just, drinking, smoking. But when I was on, I was on. So it was a back and forth battle. And so what I've come to find out is everything is spiritual. God had his hand on me from the beginning. When you read my book, you will see how he's reached out through people all through my life. So what happens is it's a war raging on your soul. So deep down, I was like, there's more to life for me. I know there's more for me. I know it, and I could feel it. And then I get pulled back. So for me, I know it was my situation. They call it situational, where you can't see what it is you're supposed to be, and you go back and forth. So, and that's the spirits. There's the spirit of God and there's the spirit of Satan, and they both are very alive and well. And so that's what I experienced, was that tug, and then I couldn't sleep. So anxiousness, anxiety, and depression, they are not of God. None of those things are of God. And so when those anxieties and depressions go up, that's when you need to get on your knees and pray, because he will balance that out. And I didn't know that at that time. But once I got into the word and going to church, those things faded away. And with the help of that Christian counselor who said to me, you are over-medicated. You don't need any of these things. And you start to believe what it is that you're told. When somebody's telling you you're crazy, you don't know what you're doing, you're hot and then you're cold, you're upset and you don't even know why you're upset, then you start, I am all these things. You become what it is that you believe you are. And that is classic for me. And there are chemical imbalances that are a real thing in people, but generally, for what I've experienced, it's a battle for your mind. And once you know who already won, you're victorious in that, then you can see better.
Well, do you think that everybody should come off their meds and follow the?
I'm not advocating
right.
that, but I am saying that you need to look within your internal struggles and see what it is that you're struggling with, and just accept the fact that Jesus died for you to live with abundance, and living with abundance has nothing to do with depression, anxiety, and doubt. So once you get in alignment with what he says, and not what the world says or what your past says or any of those things, you'll begin to walk in his accordance, and all those things will start to fall away.
But knowing what you know about bipolar, and because I suffer from depression, but not bipolar, but with what happened with Robin Williams, you do understand his pain.
I do. I was right there. Being in that battle of the mind, and that's exactly what it was. I knew I could just feel that there's greatness inside of me, but what I was being told and being held down, it was almost like Satan saw that light. And Satan will use situations, he'll use people, they'll come at the light. So it's like, no, I'm good, but they say I'm bad. So you're back and forth, and then you just feel like, well, forget it. Right. And the minute you do look to God, that's when Satan comes stronger. So when you feel like, okay, God, I hear you, I love you, take me out of this, then Satan really rears up, and that's what happened to me. I was going to church, doing my thing, felt wonderful. Within 2 weeks, Satan reared his ugly head. Verbal abuse turned into physical abuse, and then I called my mom, and she missed it. Her comment, and I tell her to this day, she said, I told you shouldn't have married that person. I told you. It turned into blame, shame, and guilt. And what I needed to hear was, honey, I love you. You're going to be fine. We'll get you out of that situation. She wasn't lifting me up. So therefore, I got off the phone, had all the pills that I had, Zoloft, all the things that they said it was, Ambien, lithium, all lined up in the tub, ready to take my life. Done. And that's when I had this peace come over me, and this small, still voice said, flee this place. I have plans for you. And I'll never forget that. And so I just said, God, if that's you, show me what it is you want me to do, and I will do it. You show me. And I was just serious. Don't play with me. If this is you. And I got up, dried myself off, packed our stuff. We left the next day. He opened every door since. So I believe that he will take you to the end of yourself till you don't have anything but him. And then he'll prove himself strong. But you got to keep pursuing it and be ready to receive it.
Let's talk about your relationships with men. Mike.
Mike, it's funny because I changed the name, so I have to remember who is who. And the Mike was my first husband right out of college, not college, high school, because I was supposed to go to college. But what I did, since I didn't go to college, I started going to Merrimack, and I found myself running into another man, which that was my remedy for everything. Met Mike. We got pregnant pretty well within a year, and then we had to make that right, so we got married, and then had another child. So I have two older children, 22 and 20 in that relationship. And I found myself in being a mother and a wife, but still empty because that will only do so much, and you can only give so much to people when you don't have it inside to give to you, to others.
And the Mike marriage was an interracial marriage.
It was an interracial marriage, and it's funny because my mother, when I married Mike, she said, "Well, I never expected you to marry a white man," and I thought, she did, and I thought, really? Yeah, she said that, and she just laughed. She goes, "I've never even laid on white sheets. I've never even kissed a white man, but you go and marry one?" And I was just, the confusion, the whole just spiral. So yeah, and we laugh at that now. She was serious, wow. And it's just funny.
Well, the marriage didn't last, and then you moved on to Jack.
Yes. Well, there were a couple in between, but Jack was the next marriage.
Yeah. And Jack is someone who you married twice.
I married Jack twice. Yes, I did.
Was it a mistake both times?
Yes, it was.
Second time you married him, did you know when you said "I do" the second time that you should have said "I don't"? Did you know while you were saying "I do" this was a mistake?
Yes. Yes. You have to know that all through my life, I was in charge. So if I messed up, I had to make it right. Okay. So I messed up. We divorced the first time. Jack remarried, found himself in a situation to where he was, depressed and sad. He didn't have a wife anymore, and I moved right in feeling sorry for him. We got pregnant again with our youngest, and so he, I thought, okay, we're pregnant. We got to make this right. Let's get married again, because I have to glue things and patch it up so it looks good. That's what it was all about. It's got to look good. Even though it's broken on the inside, it's got to be like, it goes back to the whole thing that I was saying earlier about how things look on the outside. Totally broken dysfunction on the inside. So we're playing the game of, it looks good, but it's not good. Yeah. And that played a huge part in how I carried on until that point of breaking.
Now with Jack though, Jack, after you divorced the first time, he remarried, and then his wife died.
Yes.
And then you guys got back together, but you, after she died, you, for some reason, it fell in your lap that you would clean her stuff out of the house. Yeah.
It was awful. I was going to
say, how awful and odd was that?
It was the most bizarre situation because when we divorced, he remarried within 6 months or 8 months, something. It was really quick. And so I felt, she was younger and prettier and all of those things. And so I always thought they had the perfect, thing. And I was, feeling sorry for myself. And then when that happened, I blew past the red flag. I think it was a red flag. And I ran right to him. "Oh, how can I help you?" And then I found myself degrading myself to help a person. And it almost personified my life, giving of myself and really sacrificing, for someone else who wasn't deserving, obviously. So it was like humiliating myself, packing up her things. He didn't want to see him, and I was the one to clean him out. I don't know how that happened.
Wow. That's strong, man. That's something else. So
right, dysfunction. Yeah. But we got to make it look good, so I got to clean it up and get it out of here.
Yeah, that's. I don't know many people who could have done that.
No.
Much less really live in the same house.
Yes, yes, yes. That was very interesting. So the night I left the house, um, I came back with a police officer to get all of my things, and the police officer said, "I've been at this house before," and I said, "Yeah, you probably have." And he said, "Yeah, it was a suicide call," and he goes, "This house feels exactly the way it felt that night." He just had a sense of the energy. And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, it's a good thing that you're leaving."
Wow.
That's what he told me.
Because Jack's second wife, she did commit suicide.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So,
And I was right there. And when I was in that position, that's why I kept saying, "This is what you want. This is what you'll get." Lining up the pills. That's where my mindset was.
so being honest with yourself, Cassie, do you think you will ever have a healthy relationship?
Oh, yes. Yes. And that's the thing. God knows the desires of my heart, and I pray to Him. He knows He has brought me this far, and He will give me everything that I desire because it's an earnest desire. He's growing me up and maturing me. I was not ready for that. I can see all the mistakes. And once you're filled up with Him, then you're able to join with somebody that's also filled up with Him.
Do you have a civil relationship with Mike and Jack?
For the most part, as I look around, for the most part, yes. Jack is remarried again, so that's interesting. It's nice because his focus isn't on me. He's able to have a life and everything, and we're pretty much all cordial.
So
When I
was
have
Jack an interracial relationship also?
No, he was not.
Okay. All right. So what's been the blowback from family about the book?
I'll know after this interview. No, I don't. I don't feel much support, but then, but I'm not putting it out there to them. I like on Facebook and things. My publishers, you need an author page, you need to do this. So I'm doing all this, and some are supporting, some aren't, and it's okay because it's not about me. It's for God. I don't do any of these things for them. It's for Him, and I have to remember that. And someone just, snapped it in my head. It doesn't matter if they like it. He likes it. He's telling you what to do.
Have your children read the book?
They have not.
They have not.
My older two have not. But my son did read the summary.
Okay.
He's like, "Oh, this is kind of creepy. I don't think I can read about you and sex." And I said, "It's okay. I understand." That was years ago. When I first wrote the summary.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So what kind of mother are you to your daughters?
I am a great mother. I struggle with that because I'm used to having that counterpart, that male that, says, "Well, she said no," and that means no. So I'm having to, channel my inner authority and say, "No, it's no. That's what it is," So I am growing and learning in that aspect.
How would you grade your mother as a mom?
Grade
How
her?
would you grade her as a mom? Would she be a?
On
Would
like
she be a?
1 to 10 or ABC?
Huh?
Or you mean ABC? I'd give her a C plus.
Okay. How would you grade yourself?
I would give myself a B.
Okay. Okay. I got you. Let's talk about the Whole Piece Fitness.
Yeah.
Let's talk. What makes it different from other fitness places?
Because God's in the center of it. He's completely here. He anointed this business. I've been doing fitness for years, 15 years, a personal trainer, and always thought it was about the outside. I get a client and I'm assessing, her butt needs to be lifted, her arms could be toner. That was my assessment of them. And He stripped all that away. When people walk in the door, I'm looking at their heart. I'm meeting them right where they are. People do not care how much you know till they know how much you care. And I get right in that heart level, and they can tell that. They're not intimidated. I'm meeting them where they are. It's okay if you can't do this. We're going to do this. The thing I love most about it is that I do work in groups. And God is very relational. He uses other people. Okay, so whenever you're feeling depressed, I'll just throw this in there. Don't go to the cave and hide, because Satan's in the cave and he's whispering all those things that you don't need to hear, that's going to bring you down, 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 down. You need to go out so he can bring the blessings and lift lift you.
That's very interesting, Cassie, because like I said, as someone I suffer from depression, and as you know, people with depression, when they have lows. They're lower than low, and I find myself going into the cave more
Yes.
times than I hate to admit to. Especially the last few months. Not every day has been down, but there have been days where the shades. I have room darkening shades in my bedroom, and they stay down.
Yes.
And
Just have to remember that, and it's the story of Elijah. Lord Elijah does this wonderful thing, and it freaks him out because it was so wonderful. And then he runs and hides in a cave. And when you're in the cave, you're shut off. And it's a battle for the mind. You have to remember, it's a battle in the mind. So the mind starts thinking of all those things. And even when you feel tired or sad and you're saying that, you become it. And it just presses you down. Satan depresses. He presses down. God lifts us up. So when you get there, and I get there, because, they're watching Facebook, everybody puts their highlight reel. You don't see their behind the scenes. So I'm seeing people going to dinner dates and this and that, and I am at home with my cat and dog. So there's times where I get in that and I want to put the covers on and depress, and it's like, no, 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 no. You got to get up and get out. And just going out and hearing somebody say, he'll use people to speak something, it'll lift your spirit. So, that's one thing to remember. Get out of the cave, come out so we can shine on
so
you.
business is good at World Peace Fitness.
World peace, whole
Whole
peace.
Peace. I'm sorry,
It's
Whole
whole.
Peace.
But we're going to go worldwide,
Yeah,
so it's all.
Whole Peace Fitness business is good
It's
there.
awesome. It is awesome. And it's another struggle, too, because it's different. We meet you at the heart level. So there's going to be a spiritual battle. I already know that. So when you're walking the way that you're supposed to go, that Satan doesn't like that. So people feel that pullback, and we lose people sometimes right away. Or they get in, and there's a heart change going on, and it's uncomfortable. Whenever God is changing your heart and making you moldable, it's painful. It's different. Sometimes that freaks people out, but it's good.
Wow.
Okay, the heat it's what molds you and make you better. So it's not the outside, it's the inside that's working as well.
Cassie Booth, book is called Journey to Whole Peace. It's a woman's life journey of mistakes to ultimately discover God's love for her. Where can people buy the book?
We are online at tatepublishing.com. The book actually does not come out to bookstores till October 21st. We're doing a book signing here at Whole Peace Fitness. We're at 18 Fifi Road, Maryland Heights. We're doing that September the 20th from 2 to 4. So people can come in, come out, meet me, buy a book, I sign it for you, and we will have food and drinks.
So you'll be able to buy the book September 20th, a month before it actually comes out.
Exactly.
Wow, that's great. That's great. That's fantastic. So it has been a pleasure talking to you. We're almost at 40 minutes.
Wow.
And it went by fast. You are an amazing person. I think that your
Thank
journey is your journey is there needs to be more books.
Oh yeah, there will
You
be.
know?
There will be, and he's already shown me. I'm working on a women's Bible study. It's called Finding Whole Peace. It's basically the studies that I've learned through the bits and pieces that got me to where I am now. And then from there, it'll be Whole Peace in relationships, because I don't have that. So I'm writing what I'm going through to get that. Then it'll be Whole Peace in finances, which I don't have Whole Peace in finances, but I'm learning. Everything that you go through is something that you are to learn to go and help somebody else. It is not about me. So for me to be able to tell you my story, it's to help you. It's not about me having shame about telling you. So I see that one. I see whole peace in leadership, and maybe a whole peace in business. And the last one I see is either you trust God or you don't. There's no room for doubt, anxiety, or misbelief.
That's Cassie Booth. Again, the book is called Journey to Whole Peace. Is there a website?
There is a website, just the wholepeacefitness.com for now, and then I'll have the media one set up shortly.
Okay.
But
I appreciate you taking time out talking to me. It means a lot to me.
awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And I hope to see you again. I'm going to have a gala in October, and you're
I
invited.
appreciate
Definitely.
that. Thank you so much. Cassie Booth, the book is called Journey to Whole Peace. I'm Tony Scott. Thanks for watching Talking 360.